everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Libertarian Movie Club. Today we're talking about Star Wars: The Original Trilogy with my guest, Shannon Bray. Shannon, how you doing?
Man, I am having an excellent time. How you doing this evening?
I am doing fantastic. I'm ready to talk some Star Wars.
Excellent. I love Star Wars.
So what's your Star Wars story? How'd you first
Man,
I
don't know how old I am. I'm close to 50. I think I turned 50 on my next birthday. So, I mean, I think, so I was born in 72. So I think I was around 6 when the first Star Wars came out. And, for me, it was absolutely everything. And so the thing with Star Wars and me is, so, I grew up in a very underprivileged family, right? We didn't have any money. Cereal was more preserved for Christmas, right? Sugar cereal and stuff. We didn't get anything special. Our Christmas tree was paper, taped to a door. We just didn't have any money. So the first memorable Christmas I remember, I must have been 6 or 7 just because of the period. But I'd got like a ceramic Darth Vader that if I painted it and whatever, it would be a lamp. And, like the little, the miniatures at the time from Kenner or whatever that I just stripped open and wish I would have kept the original packaging. But it was all about Star Wars. And I remember being in kindergarten and first grade, talking to the other school kids, talking about, the trilogy. And then people were like, well, I think Leia is Luke's sister. And I'm like, no, that can't be. Right. And I remember this very clearly. I was like in first grade. We were often in this at school, like this little annex or whatever. And I was just remembering, man, all I ever want to do in life is just make it through all the Star Wars movies, right? Because at the time we were only going to have 3, and it was suggested that 6 may come out, right? Because you heard about 4, 5, and 6, and then you heard about 7, 8, 9. You're like, oh my goodness! But we all knew 1, 2, and 3 weren't coming. As a young child. But then more, it was like, oh my God! All I want to do is live through Star Wars. I want it presented, and then I could have a glorious death or whatever.
No, I feel that. There's so many shows I like. There's some anime. The people like One Piece. The anime has 980 episodes or something. It's still going. Yeah, and there are people on their deathbed like, I need to make it at least a few more weeks to see how this ends. That's why I won't start it. Like I am too one way hit by a bus and not see how it ends. So I'm not even gonna start it.
I hear you. Yeah, I was a Star Wars fan from early on. I still have the Star Wars sheets, the bed sheets or whatever. I have a few collectibles, but then I also have the original Star Wars chess set that the Dan Barry Mint put out in the early 70s. Right. So that's in a closet that's going to be willed to my youngest daughter, Kenna. Nice. She doesn't even play chess. She's looking at me right now. She's not even appreciative. But
doesn't appreciate
people like you and I, if I bust that chess set out, you'll be like, oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. It is so
I think
much.
Now
so
the
much.
chess set's worth over $2,000 or whatever. But back at the day, you bought each piece individually every month. So
it is so much cool Star Wars merch. I mean, the toys and all of it is so much. Did you ever see Saturday Night Live made a sketch about Star Wars toys? Did you ever see that one?
Oh, I did.
It's like you gotta buy 2. One, you gotta buy 3 toys. One for the packaging, one for the shelf, and one just because. It's like, and it's funny, but it's true. Like if I buy any Star Wars toy now, I'm like, I gotta get at least one for the opening, one for the shelf. I gotta preserve these things. And that's the marketing of Star Wars, man. They are clever because you buy 3 toys. They know what they're doing.
Well, even with the with the Mandalorian piece when they were talking about, and I forget her Cara Dune, I think is her character name, right? When because she was a Trump supporter, and all of a sudden you had a big Disney following saying, "Hey, we want to X-nate her, we want her out." Ultimately, now she's got her own show, So, it's amazing to see the Star Wars culture, especially intertwined with like some of the traditional political aspects, because you have your diehard fans who won't compromise for anything, no matter what the political affiliation is. But then you also have, it's highly political, right? And Star Wars is highly political, right? When you look at it, and not necessarily during the original trilogy, we're not necessarily exposed to it. We hear about the Galactic Empire and the Republic, but we don't necessarily get a vision into it until we see, the prequel of, Jar Jar Binks, right? His path from an absolute idiot to a senator. Oh wait, that's not that far of a stretch, because every state that I've seen has a path from idiot to senator.
Aren't you running for senator?
I am. So hopefully I can take the same path. But yeah, when you go from, luckily he had a queen, that was downsized, and I never really quite figured out how you go from queen to public servant, and how all that works.
Naboo's politics are weird. You listen to in the Clone Wars episode. It's like, wait a minute, you elect the queen, they serve 2 terms, and they're trained in a special school from birth. It's like, what system are you living under?
That's like the craziest part of Star Wars for me. Everything else makes sense. That's the crazy.
It's just like, how does that? Oh, Star Wars. No, I've been talking about the politics of Star Wars the last couple of weeks. I did an episode titled "Does Democracy Always Lead to Empires?" Talking about the fall of the Republic into the Empire. There's so much there. I mean, George Lucas, when he went out to make a movie, he wanted to make modern mythology for people, and he did it. Like back in the day, you put like the story of Hercules with a modern day example. Now it's Luke Skywalker. I don't know how many times growing up I heard, Caleb, be mindful on your surroundings, or focus on a task at hand. My parents would quote Yoda to me all the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, I still quote Yoda even when I don't realize I'm quoting Yoda, just because it is just classical, not mythology. It's just, oftentimes it's just like, it's more like an Aesop fable on the aspect of here's a good lesson, right? Very much like the Bible in the same way, right? Where it takes lessons and it packages it up and it gives it to you. In fact, I remember when I was young, I used to see, the comparison between, the Bible and Star Wars and whatnot. And, I used to kind of appreciate that aspect of it. But, as I get older, I recognize the genius kind of it, really, with the clashes of the government systems and whatnot. I mean, it is definitely something that, the last time, I watched the original trilogy probably a month ago, but it's been less than 2 months since I've watched all 9 of them, like in all their glory. So, I mean, every once in a while I just sit down, run them, and I'm still trying to find out which path I like the best. I think I do actually like watching them in numerical order. I like watching 1, 2, 3. Right, because I don't really like 1 and 2 a whole lot, but love 3.
Same episodes. Now I gotta ask: when you rank Star Wars films, top 3, like what's your top 3 ranking here?
4, 5, and 6 are still my top, but I love 3 because it sets 4 up so much. It's like good. When I'm like Darth Vader, rise. I mean, I instantly have to go into A New Hope. Even if I just watched it, you got to see that, right? You go from Darth Vader rise to watching him with the Imperial troop, just kind of storming through. And it's the complete circle. So and the fact that they're 30 years apart, 2 different actors, it doesn't even matter, because if we started Star Wars off at 3 and we ended off at 6, I think I'd be happy.
Yeah. I'd probably throw Rogue One in there and be like, there we go. perfect series.
You know what I did like Rogue One. I thought they did, and it took me a while to watch it because as weird as it sounds, I started feeling a little disappointed, you know, in the Star Wars thing, because I kept falling. I was putting my expectations out there, and you know, I'd go sit at the movie theater whether I was dressed up or not, you know, and then you know, kind of leaving the movie going, well, why did they do that?
Yeah, and that's how I left 8. I left at 8. It's like, why?
Yeah,
Why?
you know what? 8 and 9. I just.
Yeah.
I like the reintroduction of Luke Skywalker. I think that's brilliant. I love the man. What do they call that? The deep fake aspect of it. I like that they did that. But you know, the storylines kind of you know, I think they're trying to grab new generations or whatever, and it just didn't really kind of fit for me. 9 was. Man, I'd hate to say that I hated a Star Wars movie, but 9 just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
8 was more like a toilet paper run.
So
you know,
that was the only time I ever sat in a seat and seriously saw it. So I just leave. I sat through Ghost Rider 2. I sat through Ghost Rider all the way, no problem. Star Wars Episode 8. That did not be the situation. I did not be able to make it to a Nick Cage film. And it'll be fine.
Especially with what J.J. Abrams, right? He did number 8, didn't he?
I think it was Ryan Johnson. I think he did 8.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, like I said when it came out, like if the sequel trilogy had the same director, they switched around. They had J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson. They had a third guy, and they fired him. But J.J. Abrams back, so we had to work with half a script, except for what he made, and then there's a storyline that Ryan Johnson trashed all over.
Oh yeah,
so it's like there's no way. The guy's a good director, but no one's that good. No one's gonna save that trash in one movie.
So I'm kind of wondering where they're gonna go. I know that they're trying to capitalize on that chain a little bit more, so then they might put out more movies. But the movies are no longer, to me, things that I have to see opening day. Like, right, I remember. 4, 5, and 6. When 7 came out, I just got out of the Navy, and I was with one of my best friends at the time, Danny, in New Orleans, and we were like it wasn't 7, it was 1, right? When 1 came out, we were like in line, dressed up, crazy, and then I got to meet Jar Jar Binks, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
what a disappointment that was. Yeah. But I know why they introduced him, right? It was more for the kid cultural and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, my kids don't like Star Wars. So it failed. You got to get new kids.
I'm sorry. You got to get new kids.
Yeah. I'm going to get rid of them. That's why, I mean, one of them's going to get my chess set, but hopefully they grow to appreciate it. They were Star Wars fans early on, but I couldn't get any of them to watch 8 and 9 with me.
I have a hard time watching 8 and 9, so I don't blame them. I own all the Star Wars movies and the TV shows and everything. I don't own Episode 8. I refuse to buy it. I won't buy it. If I want to watch it, God forbid I ever want to watch it, I'll stream it. I'll pirate it. I'm not gonna stream it. I don't want Disney to think anybody's watching it.
I do have Disney Plus, so I get to roll that. I mean, early on I had all the VHSs and stuff, right? And then I had the DVDs. But now with Disney Plus, I just get to spin it up whenever I feel like it.
It's Star Wars. God, there's so much good stuff. Like I was rewatching episode 5 the other day, and I'm just like blown away how good it is.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they had a movie end with the villains kind of winning. It's like that is a brave move to make. Like I can't think only like for the movies that have villains win in the end. It's like episode 5, Pirates of the Caribbean 2. That's really it. Every other movie it was a good guys having some kind of hope, but these ones are just like, nope, it's over. You want to see what happens? Well, you better hope we get a certain one made. So, what was I gonna say? Politics in Star Wars.
All right.
Let's get into this. I had a point I've been making about the prequel series, kind of, in contrast to the original trilogy, this whole podcast series I've done. There really are no good guys in the prequels. That
No.
everyone in the prequel series does exactly as they're laid out to do according to the plan of Palpatine. They're all pawns. You know, at worst, they only they do interfere. Like the only time someone interferes with his plan is when Mace Windu tries to kill him, which only helps Anakin go to the dark side faster.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
so
I was trying to think of a counterpoint, but I think you're right. Even
it's hard.
yeah, they all become pawns. Even the queen down to senator, right? Ultimately becomes
Jar Jar dominates the emergency powers that create the Empire.
yeah. Well, and
all
it's
played
the fact
out.
that they're all pawns is why it all turns into an empire, right? When they get Palpatine and they fall for his, Mitch Trap or whatever. That's always been, when I look at him as a character and the evilness, I just see McConnell, right?
I don't blame you.
As a character, and as you dive the Emperor right into the politicalness of 2020 and whatnot, it's actually a split role, right? Where Trump takes on half of that facade and Mitch McConnell takes on the other half, right? To where you as becomes the Emperor, right? And the power and assembling the Senate and whatever. There was a lot of lines that I was able to kind of draw from that aspect. But kind of as a libertarian, I've always kind of watched Star Wars and said, am I a rebel? Or where do I align? Because as you said, depending on what part of the story you're in, are you a hero? Are you a villain? What is your die cast, and what's your future?
Even the rebels, like the people who created rebels, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, these characters, these are just politicians who lost, and they lost their power, and they wanted their power back. They wanted to rebuild the Republic. And so I'm not even going to say they're good guys. They're just greedy politicians who wanted their power back, and they hired smugglers and bounty hunters and other criminals to fight the Empire. And so even then, it's like the good guys are Luke, Han, and Leia. But they're just pawns in the scheme of the politicians trying to get their power back.
Right.
So
That's true.
It's hard to find the good guys, honestly. It's like it's not as simple as light and dark. There are good actors, but there are no good teams.
Right. As you're brought into A New Hope, right? You naturally just follow Luke through the rebellion, but you don't necessarily know why the rebellion, what the rebellion against, or even if it's a good thing. All you really know is that they say that the stormtroopers are precise firing machines, but yet we all see that they can't hit shit.
It's honestly, it's hilarious. Like when they find the dead Zawas in episode 4, and Ben Kenobi's like, only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. Like, where are you at, Obi-Wan? They're not clones anymore.
No other part in the Star Wars theory are they precise.
Never. It's a hilarious line.
I love that line. It's actually one of my favorite lines in Star Wars. But only after you see all of them and you realize that they're never precise.
Yeah. Only time they're precise when they're killing Jedi. That's the only time the clones are ever accurate. It's hilarious.
It's pretty much what our lawmakers are. They're about as precise as stormtroopers.
That's a fitting description. If only they had, I wish they had cool armor. Honestly,
that's right.
Maybe I'd vote for the guy with the cool armor.
Well, I'm gonna show up like at a debate, in complete stormtrooper get up, and just be like, or then I'll show up like with your lightsaber or something. I don't know.
Fine.
People be like, that dude's crazy anyway.
Did you know Alec? Oh my gosh, I always forget his name. The guy who played Ben Kenobi, Sir Alec Guinness.
Oh yeah.
He apparently set up a deal with George Lucas when he signed on to do Star Wars that he would get 15% or something of all future sales of Star Wars merch, and that's still in effect today. So his family is still making money off the new Star Wars movies.
Wow.
That dude was smart. He got
Smart.
a deal where he's making money off toy sales and everything.
Well, and he was like the only named actor at the time, right? Because everybody else was just like, no one. But they brought in this guy from England and who was supposed to make the movie, and he had such a small part, and we didn't even know who he was. Now, beautiful actor, beautiful spot, but it's not like he drew us. What drew us was the story, right, and everything along with it, and while his character was beautiful, it didn't. He wasn't what brought us, right? It was, I don't know. We didn't know it was a brother and sister thing at the time. It was, just a young man against the universe trying to, fight evil with a.
Oh yeah, no, I think Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill got the script from a friend of his. He was in the apartment eating cold pizza, and his friend was like, "Hey, I got you a job. Go do something with your life."
Oh my goodness! And
that's how he got the script. It's like, you just made Mark Hamill's career because you didn't like him eating pizza on your couch.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I know that he's done a couple things other than Star Wars, but Star Wars is the only thing I know him as. And when I see him like on anything else, it didn't really much matter. But Star Wars was everything. He got
into a really bad car accident, and that's why he had all the face makeup later on. He mainly does voice acting. He's the voice of the Joker in a lot of Batman games.
I had heard that, and I didn't know that until just recently.
He is a good Joker. When he first casted for the role, his friends were like, "Dude, you're following Jack Nicholson as the Joker." It's like, that's got to be a tough role to follow, it's Jack Nicholson as the Joker. I don't know how you follow that.
Yeah, I mean, Jack was awesome there.
Yeah. So many good movies. So yeah, even in the original trilogy, it's like the heroes aren't it's not the teams. All the teams are bad. The only real hero is Luke, and you see him go through the hero's journey. You see Han get redeemed, Leia finds her place. Like, there really is like the heroes of the story. Those who are like dealing with that's one thing. If I would have changed anything about the original trilogy, it'd be treating the Rebel Alliance like they did in Rogue One. Like, Rogue One treats the Rebel Alliance as maybe not the great guys. I mean, Cassian Andor shoots the guy in the back because he can't climb a wall. Like, I would have that be a theme in the original trilogy, and then have the heroes like, well, they're better than these guys, so we have to deal with it. But I feel like if you show that, because right now it's very black and white, light and dark. Empire with Rebel Alliance. But really, when you look at Rogue One or think about it for a little bit, Rebel Alliance not that good of guys. I mean, they same with the Clone Wars though. The Clone Wars, the Empire, and the Galactic Republic, and the Separatists also all bad. Like, everyone is bad. It's like it's really hard finding good guys in Star Wars when you rewatch it.
Right. Well, I mean, it kind of helps draw the analogy now to where we are. Because we're in a republic democracy. But as you try to cast some of these characters into, some of the roles of these other, of our of the Star Wars roles, where you would cast people. That's really where it becomes interesting. Well, since Jar Jar Binks, made it to the Senate, I guess we can cast him as, one of our favorite Democrat leading senators.
Find a good one.
You so choose. But, at the same time, you have Palpatine, and you make comparisons to, Mitch or Trump or whatever. But
I have a hard time comparing any of them because they're actually, and so at least the politicians are smart.
That's true. That's true.
Like, Palpatine organized a kick-ass plan to take over the Empire. I'm surprised Mitch McConnell can tie his shoes.
No, I think he would probably fail at that.
Yeah, which makes me feel comfortable that our politicians are so useless. It's kind of a comforting thought. It's like, I don't have to worry about them taking over. Right. I mean, they're already in charge and they're terrible at it. That's kind of comforting.
But I mean, I guess that's the glory in 4, 5, and 6, I think, is because they were able to present it really without the political structure in it. They only talked about, the Rebel Alliance against the Empire or whatever. And that kind of framed that story, but it didn't really necessarily become politically ambiguous, until you saw 1, 2, and 3. And then you saw how the Empire, how it originally started out as a source of good, and how Palpatine was able to kind of like molest it into, to bend it into his will, and then ultimately, take control of, the galaxy using, the governors, or whatever they ended up calling them. But the fascinating aspect of it is really how it ties into American politics now, right? When we have, there's different various aspects that really kind of align the things that we got going out with globalization, right? We typically try to say that we're not in everyone's business, but we're in everyone's business.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's absolutely clear, right? We pissed away poorly, the Afghanistan experience. So let me try to tie the Rebel Alliance into a losing Afghan experience, and I just can't find a way to do it. So maybe it's not. Maybe us in Afghanistan was more like the Ewok experience. I don't know.
Ewok movies. And I had I
feel, even though I lost 5 friends in one day in Afghanistan in an IED, and that's just one day. And these were kids that I grew up with. They were all. I was in the Navy, but they were all National Guard activated, sent to Afghanistan.
I have such a problem with National Guard activation. Like, if anyone listening, go find who we call the Guard and those people and support them, because the fact that National Guard is sitting over there without equipment sometimes. Like, you know, they're sitting over there, no helmets, no equipment, and they're just there so the governor can be like, I did my part and send the troops in. It's like, fuck you. Fuck that governor. I have such a I don't want to get into it. I'm not.
I get it. My friend died because of that shit. And I got out of the Navy. I had a positive experience. I was a Persian Gulf War veteran. I left loving the military, loving the government. Sorry. But then when Chris died, that was hard for me, especially because of the nature of it. And he died with an IED. We lost 4 other friends there, but then trying to explain that to his daughter, who is now an adult, and then trying to talk about the effectiveness of, our military and in Afghanistan and stuff. It's just, sorry.
Yeah, I can't imagine, man.
Take that way.
No, it's okay. I can't imagine being in that. I almost joined, and thankfully I found libertarianism and anti-war stuff before, and I'm glad I didn't, honestly. Like, I don't want to be involved in that situation. And thank you for your service, and I'm sorry you had to deal with all of that. If anyone,
it's not. I'm never opposed to my service, and I love my country dearly. But it's more of the servicemen that I served with.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, because we don't go into war. I mean, we might go, we might sign up for one reason, but the reason why we fight and continue the fight is always ends up being a different reason, right? Mm-hmm. And most oftentimes it's the guy you bring next to you, right? You spent so much time with him, his family, his kids, and you're invested in their future.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you don't get to bring these guys back, when you have to look at their family, and then there's no words.
Yeah.
No words now. I mean, we can bundle this up and put a rose on it all we want, but it's a piss ass failure. Yeah. As libertarians, I mean, we capitalize on the, we don't want to go fight the wars of the warmongers, right? All we care about is personal defense. Mm-hmm. Personal defense can still have people, overseas and whatnot. But what it doesn't do is put our nose in other people's business and, you know, put us down a rail to where we're in a losing war. We're sacrificing our youth for something that ultimately we can't even control or win in the end.
I mean, look at Afghanistan. 20 years training 20 years in Afghanistan, 20 years training up a new military. Everyone there knew and talked about how these guys are not going to be able to do anything when Taliban was back in, and it happened. You know, it sucks so much. It's like we spent 20 years somewhere, people died, and we walked out, and it's the exact same way we left it when we came in.
It's not even the exact same way. It's even worse.
It's even worse now. Because we made it worse, and people died.
September 2001, right? We had the towers hit. October, we hit Afghanistan. In November, we have the Taliban and everybody in retreat, which 2 months in, we already have people backing up. And now we're on the verge of leaving, trusting the same people we went to war with because there's other people that we don't like. Or I don't know. It's a complete piss show.
I'm reading Scott Holland's a book of Enough Already currently. And it's so hard. It's like, wait a minute, we would just like, you read one chapter, it's like, we're fighting these guys. Next time we're funding these guys. It's like, how long did this take place? Like a month? A month we went from killing to funding.
Right. Well, everybody we give weapons to becomes our enemies. It's just the way it is.
It's so it's so frustrating to read it or see it, you know, because you're like, almost everyone has someone they know who went off and they come back. And you have these people who are going off. And even if they come back too, the suicide rate among veterans. I mean, the amount of loss that has happened for no progress and nothing to be made better out of our leaving. The absolute failure of all of it, and the cost it had, the cost of it and the failure of it, it's unacceptable. And the fact that people, I was on Twitter, and I saw Dan fucking Crenshaw was tweeting about we can't leave Afghanistan, and I called him a half a fleshlight. I was just like, it's absolutely disgusting. These people who are like, you see the effects and you see it all. You're seeing it and you're still supporting it. How? I don't know how.
Well, so let me protect Dan for a minute on this aspect because you know, I get it. He comes off like a tool sometimes, but you know, in his heart, he means well. But you can't send a soldier, sailor, SEAL off, you know, to war and then expect them to come back under the same conditions, right? So here's the problem with like the special operations community and stuff is that you're given a job, you're told to go do something. In your mind, you have to dehumanize your targets, right? There's just no way you can look at people as your equal and shoot them. So I don't expect Dan to come back, you know, and just ditch his warmongering. There's some people that do, right? And I don't want, you know, there's a lot of libertarian, most of them are libertarians, you know, and they come back and, you know, they're special operations or they're operators and they come back and they're like, you know, look, I did what I did for my country. I don't regret it. But had I had the opportunity to do it again, this is what I would like my country to do, right? Not take a forward facing maneuver on other countries. They're on Fox earlier, right? There's a well-known Navy SEAL get on, and he was like, "Oh, they hit us. Let's go back to war. But this is what those guys do. Right. This is what their training is. This is their bread and butter. Right. As politicians, we need to not send these guys into these areas because they're going to do their job. Right. But we don't need to be involved in other people's aspects to where what's our upside? What was our winning thing? Afghanistan was going to have democratic elections. I mean, what was even our objective? Yeah. I mean, early on, we went, you know, to defend our nation, right, because of 9/11. But when did that get?
It went from defense to nation building.
Yeah. Why did that happen? Where did that happen? Who was in charge of that? Well, and I actually know all the answers to that. And unfortunately, it was, under Bush, who was one of my favorite presidents. But it wasn't until much later that I realized the carnage that was happening and how the military complex actually works. Because I was still coming out of the military myself. Proud. We had, we just came off Gulf One. There's a lot of military pride. But I don't know how we ended up where we are versus where we were is a very complicated structure. And it's not even political, right? A lot of it has to do with, the birth of social media, right? The internet, right? Where you have individuals with opposing ideas. Case in point, you walk into a bar, right? This guy is 7 foot tall. You throw him back a couple beers or whatever, you're probably still smart enough not to tell him to go fuck himself, right?
I'm not, but yeah.
But you might, and you might wake up on the floor. So now let's remove the physical barriers of actually meeting somebody. You got all these people just popping off in the mouth, right? And you got your 7 foot giants over here like, oh, you're not going to talk to me like that. It causes a social divide.
They've done a study that people are, how to put it, I don't remember exactly the details of it was, but they showed that if you're in your car and you're yelling at a dude, the road rage is decreased by like 20% if you're in a convertible. Something about not having the layer of protection decreases the road rage. So like motorcycle people have less road rage people in a minivan because of the protection. Like it's a really interesting study. It's like there really is something like when you think you're safe, you're shoot off at the mouse.
Right. That's a beautiful state. Lines up perfectly because then like when you're online, you're in the confines of your own home, you're
like, in the bathroom on the pot, like, oh yeah, I'd beat your ass if you were in front of me.
Right.
Like, no, you wouldn't.
Well, I got all these guys, right? They're telling me to go have fun with myself or whatever. But I got their IP addresses. I can track them down to a city block. Right? They're not really, that hidden, even though they might be like unknown.
My location is listed as your mom's house. So I'll say, meet me at my location, and they'll go your mom's. It's social media. It's so toxic.
Oh, absolutely. And I really think that's where we get most of our political divide. I recently wrote an article on gun violence and social media. I think that's where a lot of that comes from. I really think a lot of it has to do with the growth of, people knowing a little bit about everything, but knowing absolutely nothing is really what we're at the point of, right? So we may hear about some incident that happens in California or Maine, and we only get to hear the little pieces of it, right? But we hear enough of it that we get to fuel ourselves and react. And then when we hear the whole story, it doesn't even matter anymore. We already picked a side.
You read 5 memes and watch one 30-minute podcast from Ben Shapiro or something, and you're ready to hop on Facebook and defend your not even your political positions, his political positions.
Right. And that's something that I've been working on myself. Case in point, this morning, just kind of date the podcast. CDC director came out talking about gun violence. Right. So I got the news playing. I'm trying to wake up in the morning, and I was hearing that. I'm like, CDC. What's that bitch got to do with my guns, right? So I want to pull up my phone immediately and then listen. But, I actually listened to her argument. And while I still want to know why that bitch has got to do with my guns, I at least heard her position enough to say, okay, well, I see what she says about how this might be a public health based off of her definition But still, it's a violation of our constitutional rights. Her even trying to take money for some research that will ultimately cause laws that will restrict guns, gun control. So, but it was important to listen to her entire argument. Oh, yeah. And then I decided that it wasn't necessarily worth a tweet or anything else, because everyone who follows me on Twitter knows that every gun law is unconstitutional. Yeah. So
that's something I've tried to do. I try not to. I know my followers. I don't have anyone who follows me who doesn't know my politics. So I don't need to tweet out taxation of step every time there's a new tax bill. They know it. If they've heard it, they know what I think. I don't need to tweet midwit stuff. I need to tweet stuff that actually contributes to the conversation. Once I've got that framework, I've decreased my tweeting by quite a bit. Or I just take the time to learn what the person is saying so I can better refute it. Well, back to Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
We got off track there. It was great, though. Out of the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. For me, episode 6 is my favorite out of that trilogy, because Luke and Vader's final battle. And when Luke goes to strike down Palpatine, and Vader has to stop him last second, everything in that fight scene is beautiful.
Yeah, well, and that to me is the whole reason for actually 1 through 6, right? Is the birth and the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. Mm-hmm. It's really what that is. And 7, 8, 9 kind of go anywhere else. They ruined. In my mind, they were supposed to be the continuation of Han and Leia, and they have a kid, which they did. Didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I wasn't a writer.
I would have preferred the twins from the Swan books. Like, that's what I would have gone with.
But then I didn't like what they did with Luke at all.
Hold on. My favorite character, Luke Skywalker. I got the prop and everything for people to see it. And they, in my opinion, ruined Luke Skywalker. In my opinion, episode 7, 8, and 9 ruined the character of Luke.
Oh, yeah. The best thing he's got going on now is that he gets to do a sneak peek in the the Mandalorian series or whatever.
He was awesome. He was awesome in that.
He was, and their deep fake stuff was impeccable. It was awesome. Good. So that was absolutely beautiful, and that's where Star Wars is always friends of technology of pretty much everything. It's redefined how we watch movies. Nice.
I just gotta activate it for the camera. My favorite thing I own, actually. If there's a fire, I'd grab this first.
I have the 2 original sabers that are one piece are in their storage shed. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a bunch of the little miniatures in their original packages, but none of them they're in their original packages as of like 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years. I was looking at the date, but not not the first release, which is really where all that money comes from. Like when you start looking at the bubble but I was huge on eBay 30 years ago, just buying everything. I bought like the Millennium Falcon puzzle that I never put together. But I just bought all sorts of used stuff, not necessarily for money, but just for my kids to be like, this is what I used to want to play with, but didn't have the money to play with it.
I get that. That's pretty cool. I think we should say something on overall all of the Star Wars movies and the Mandalorian shows. The common theme of all the Star Wars movies, I would say, is redemption. That is a common story arc in the Star Wars trilogy, Star Wars series. I mean, the story, I would say, the point of the story is Anakin, redemption arc. The fall and the redemption. That's the focus of Star Wars. With that being said, was the whole point of Star Wars being the redemption arc, George Lucas's bullshit reasoning for making Greedo shoot first, because he couldn't redeem a man who shoots first, is laughable. Your point of your story is redemption, and you can't have the guy shoot first? What is this? Anyway, podcast.
That was so early on. I don't think they ever knew it was going to even matter.
Yeah. But it's like I have to bring it up if I can because it bugs me so much. I got lucky because I grew up by the time everyone watching the DVD ones, and my aunt had all the VHS ones. And so I got to watch the original ones, no edits growing up. And so we're lucky. See, bought the DVDs and threw those away, not knowing things had changed. And it's like when I found out to throw them away, I was like, no, what are you doing? Go, it's in the trash, but no, they're gone. Well, this has been a lot of fun, but I don't know what time it's gonna have a watch on me, but if I'm gonna put this up tonight, I gotta get to editing.
Sounds good.
This has been a lot of fun. Where can people find you? Plug your stuff. And I believe you're running for senator, right? What's that?
Yeah, I'm running for the U.S. Senate in the state of North Carolina. It's my second attempt doing it. Last, as a Libertarian, last election cycle, I broke the state records, both in the number of votes I had, and I actually quadrupled the votes that Dr. Joe and them got in our state. So we were extremely successful last election cycle. I'm kind of hoping to capitalize on that, moving forward. But yeah, primarily I just kind of spend most of my time on Twitter at Shannon Bray NC, and then people can find me also through the web at shannonbray.us. But that's I'm on Facebook, but I don't typically do much there just because Facebook has their policing is sometimes a little unfair for some of us. But Twitter or whatever, I find I have dialogue or whatever and carry on. So I love chatting with people there.
Yeah, I love Twitter. I have made friends through Twitter. I got a podcast. I mean, that's my network is with Twitter. It is honestly, I say Twitter's the best thing mankind ever made.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how I know you is on Twitter.
Yep, that's how I got everyone for this podcast. I tweeted out I want to do a Star Wars podcast. So you're gonna get like 3 guys, and then you commented, Shane Hazel commented, Scott Horton commented. I'm like, oh, okay. I ain't gonna say no.
Look, I love, and like just to plug it, if you haven't talked to Shane yet, I love Shane. And look, he's one of those special operators I was talking about earlier, right? That they go off to war, they come back, and they come back as libertarians. So have you had him on yet?
Well, I had him on, and then my internet went out, my microphone went out, and my camera went out, and I lost everything.
Well, let me know when you have him back on, because I'll push the hell out of that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I adore you, adore Shane. I can't think of a better mission to push out.
He's great. His podcast, he's on Twitter. He's just phenomenal. I absolutely. Yeah. He's coming on to talk about weapons of mass indoctrination. That book on public schools. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, he's a smart dude. Love him to death. So anything I can do to ever help him too, I'm always down for. Well,
this has been another episode of the Libertarian Movie Club. Subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell. This weekend, I got another episode coming out on Star Wars and the necessity of violence, and then another episode on pacifism immediately following it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone, have a good night, and may the force be with you.